Hello, Paolo. Hello, everyone. Hello, Peggy. Hello, Bob. Hello, everyone who is watching us. My name is Nina Trankova. You are with OnEBoard Home series. Today, we are with our guest, Paolo Amoroso, astronomy educator and popularizer, multiple award winner, Google product expert. Thank you for accepting our invitation, Paolo. Please introduce yourself.
Thanks to you, and thanks for having me. I live in Milan, in Italy, and I work in astronomy and space popularization and education. I'm also a Google expert, a member of the Google Product Experts program, and I'm a podcaster about astronomy and space.
Thank you so much. I give the floor to our moderator today, Peggy. Peggy?
Hi, I'm Peggy. I'm our moderator today. Thank you for joining us, Paolo, and thank you everyone who's watching. I also wanted to mention that Paolo has a weekly newsletter for practicing Google, so he shares information about Google as well. I want to say that me and my fellow OnEBoard members, Nina, Bob, and Monica have prepared some questions for you, and we're really excited to learn from you about communication and using Google products. So I'll get started with the first question. The first thing I wanted to know is whether you have a home online. There are so many places you can be online today, social media, video sharing sites, websites. Do you feel like you have a home online?
Yes, I have a website, a blog, and a newsletter, and a number of social media profiles. But what I feel as my online home is my blog. The reason is it's the most versatile platform in that I can post short notes or long form content. I can structure text into sections with headings. I can format text and, for example, include source code, attach images or other media. And it's the most versatile communication tool for my needs.
Thank you, Paolo. I'll pass the microphone over to Nina. Nina, what questions have you prepared?
My first question is, what is the best way to explain the differentiation in expertise between knowing the Google ecosystem versus working with specific Google products and services?
Working with specific Google products is a first step. You learn some tool that is useful to you to do some work. For example, you learn to use Gmail for sending mail or the Google search engine for finding the information you need. And once you start going in more depth in using a number of products, you can get a bigger picture and start seeing how these products can work together. They can integrate, share data, and so on. And so you get a better idea of how the whole ecosystem can help you get more done.
So is the practicing Google skill the best way to improve digital skills? Or is it something different, like you mentioned in your first answer, working on your blog or learning Python or any other digital skill?
I think they are different and they serve different purposes. Using Google, the search engine, and other products is something you use to get access to information or, for example, email. Python and blogging platforms are useful for different things. For example, a blogging platform is a way of communicating, of sharing your idea or publishing your content. And Python is a tool for building other tools. You can, for example, create web apps or complex web tools. So they serve different needs, different purposes.
So you need to learn everything.
Depending on what you need to do.
Of course. So like addicted learner like myself gets lost. Okay, thank you. And Peggy, back to you.
Thank you, Nina. Our next question was going to come from Monica, who actually couldn't join us today. So I will ask her question to you. I'm wondering, Monica's wondering too, how you keep up with the new features, new Google products and changes so that you're always up to date on how everything works.
That's actually quite simple because I read a lot and experiment a lot. For example, I subscribe to almost 300 RSS feeds in my feed reader. I track additional technology publications, blogs, Twitter accounts, and so on. And I do my own experimentation with Google products. For example, when a new one is announced or when a new feature is announced, I try to have a look at how it works and how it can help me do more so that I'm prepared if I have a need that the new product feature matches. And I do this continuously. My RSS feed reader is my main information tool, more than Twitter, for example, or other social platforms. So I'm constantly living in my feeds and get the latest news, and I can have a good overview, get a good picture of what's going on in the Google ecosystem, in the Google world.
Thanks. I have just to follow up. You say you have all of these feeds in your feed reader. Which feed reader tool do you use?
I'm using Feedly. Back when it was seen as a replacement of Google Reader, it was the major feed reader available at the time. I bought a lifetime pro subscription, so I paid once and I'm continuing to enjoy the pro version of Feedly. But there are other feed reader around, so maybe someday I may explore more.
Yeah, I'm also a huge fan of Feedly, and so it's a shame that Google doesn't have any feed reading tool anymore, but it seems like a pretty good replacement. Thank you. So Bob, I'm passing on the question to you. What would you like to ask?
Well, hey there, Paolo. Man, you are really active with your astronomy niches, and obviously it kind of complements, NASA, the big our space program in the U.S. here. So how did you build your community using Google and other software? If you could share your goals and objectives that guided your efforts, because you're obviously in competition with, but also working with these other large nonprofit organizations.
We actually do something complementary to the space agencies. The space agencies, the space companies and so on, go into space, explore, exploit it commercially and so on. We are just a public outreach and education organization. I'm a member of an Italian space enthusiast group, and we do public outreach and education. So we just tell what NASA and other space agencies do. Our community started up from an online discussion board. We are now the the first and the largest Italian space discussion bulletin board in our country. And it all started from an online bulletin board system based on an open source discussion board system. I think it was called Simple Machines, or it was an earlier version back then. Now we migrated to another great open source platform, Discourse, and we actually don't use Google Tools directly. We have some infrastructure built on Google. For example, our YouTube channel, where we stream the live recordings, the weekly live recordings, or our podcast episodes. We used Hangouts on Air back then, and now we moved to a different tool, StreamYard, which streams live to YouTube and, of course, records the streaming so that it can be played later as a video. And this is our main way in which we use Google Tools.
That's pretty awesome, Paolo. You know, you're doing such a great job. And I look on you as like an astronomy aficionado. So I guess it would be fair for me to characterize you as an optimist, wouldn't it? And that as such, could you speak about your optimism about the internet and the role Google plays in current and future success of this technology?
And speaking of space and the internet is a sort of a science fiction tool which puts into my pocket, for example, a lot of data, astronomy and space data that I couldn't dream of having access to without the internet. For example, I can get live images from Earth orbit. I can get the live telemetry from the International Space Station. I can get images from all around the solar system or from the universe. So I think that the internet can continue to play this and a major role in bringing to us knowledge that it would be impossible to have without it.
Great, thanks for that answer.
Thank you for those questions, Bob, and thank you, Paolo. I have one final question for myself. You have a very interesting Practicing Google newsletter that you've recently started, and I'm wondering what inspired you to create the newsletter and how you're promoting that online.
Thanks. My newsletter, in a way, is a byproduct of my effort for keeping up to date with the Google ecosystem. I said earlier that I read a lot about Google and technology. And so I thought I could share what I read with others who are potentially interested. Surprisingly, there's no newsletter that covers all of Google with a practical angle, and the one I'm most interested in because of my own experimentation and because of what I read. So I thought this would be a unique resource to share with others and a useful tool. So I started this newsletter.
Very interesting. Thank you. It's inspiring to hear about all the different things that you're working on. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a great learning experience. Oh, let me pass the microphone back to Nina.
Yes, please tell us, when did you first join the Google Product Experts program, and what is the benefit for other people to join, especially younger people from different countries across the globe? And thank you so much for being my mentor when I first was accepted to the program.
Thanks. I joined the program in February 2014. It was called the Top Contributors program back then. And it was a great learning opportunity, an additional learning opportunity, because it's a way of learning how Google and its product work by helping the users. The users continually post new questions, new challenges, new things they don't understand or they don't know how to work. So it's a continuous opportunity for learning and for meeting other interested experts who bring their own knowledge and skills, and helping the users becomes a collaborative effort.
That's great. Can you send a positive message from Milan in the midst of this quarantine that is a bit shocking to everyone in the world?
Of course, we are concerned, but here we are fine. We have food, we have everything we need, but there's a lot of concern. Maybe uncertainty, but we are mostly fine here.
Thank you so much. Peggy, back to you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Paolo. It's been a very interesting learning experience, and I think our viewers will also be interested in, have a lot of takeaway messages about how to keep up with Google, and use those tools for communication. For those of you who are watching, please do check the links in the description of the video so you can follow Paolo. And don't forget to subscribe to the OnEBoard channel. We are preparing for our next interview. And if you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified the next time we have a video. So thank you, everyone. If you have any questions or comments, please also leave a comment on the video and we will read it and respond. Thanks again.
Thanks to all of you for your questions and for having me.